Welcome to rSlash Am I the Butthole, where OP tries to murder some people. Am I the butthole for telling my girlfriend that I have every right to defend my home after someone started kicking my door in? I'm a 27-year-old guy, and I've been with my girlfriend, who's 26, for 2 years. I'm a black man raised in the inner city. She's a white girl from the suburbs. We grew up different, and normally that's okay, but last week, someone tried to break into my house, and it started causing problems. I'm taking care of my mother now that she's getting up in age. She just had surgery on her legs and cannot walk. I need to stress this. She physically can't support herself, so I'm doing everything for her. Her bedroom is in the back of the house right next to the back door that leads to the porch. At 2 a.m. last Wednesday, my mom calls me scared, saying someone's trying to break into the house and she can hear them banging on the back door. My girlfriend was staying with me in my bedroom when I got the call. I jumped up, grabbed my gun, and ran to the back and started yelling for whoever was there to get away because they were still banging on the door when I got there. Things got quiet, so I checked the camera on the porch and I saw them standing there. It was 3 people, and one of them said to keep going, that it doesn't matter. So I used the speaker on my camera to say that I have a weapon, it's loaded, and if you kick that door one more time, I will shoot. My girlfriend is behind me at that point, screaming not to shoot them and that it isn't worth it. The 3 people on the porch don't move, so I put my phone down, cock my weapon, and say, I'm going to count to 3. And if you aren't gone by the time I get to 3, I'm firing. As soon as I counted to 1, they ran away. And my girlfriend was screaming at me that there's never a reason to threaten to shoot someone, ever. I told her we're not having this conversation right now, and we need to call the cops. Yes, I should have done so earlier, but I was too worried about my mother to think about it. The police got called, they came out and saw shoe prints on my fence and on the back door from where they were kicking and start patrolling the area but don't find them. When the police leave, my girlfriend starts yelling at me, saying she can't believe I'd be willing to shoot someone because they kicked my door. I said, it isn't about my house, it's the fact that my mother is laying in bed helpless just a few feet from that door, and they could have done anything. Stole things, killed her, forced themselves on her, a combination. I have no idea, and I wasn't taking any chances. She says there's never a reason to hurt or kill someone ever, because violence isn't the answer. It just makes you like the person you're hurting. I told her the only reason she thinks violence isn't the answer is because she's never had someone try to physically harm her before. And I'm not going to apologize for what I did because I have every right to defend myself, my home, my mother, and her. She's been angry at me ever since and will barely even speak to me. I'm trying to consider her perspective, I really am, but I'm not going to give up my ability to defend myself because she doesn't believe violence will ever be necessary. Am I the butthole? If I'm mentally preparing myself to shoot 3 possible murderers who are about to break down my front door and I have to make sure I hit all 3 before they charge in and kill my family, and then my girlfriend was yelling into my ears about how let's put the gun down and talk about this over a nice cup of tea, that'd be it for me, man. There's no coming back from that. She chose a home break-in to argue with you and scream in your ear? Nah, man. Nah. OP, you get 0 out of 5 buttholes. Your girlfriend is bonkers. I'm giving her 2 out of 5 buttholes. Am I the butthole for not wanting to drop charges on a 10-year-old kid? My kids go to a school where over 90% of the student population are refugees and immigrants. We live in a neighborhood that's the same circumstances as my kids' school. Yesterday, my 9-year-old girl was out at recess. She was playing basketball with friends. This bully walked up behind her, pushed her to the ground, and when she was getting up, the kid kicked her in the head like it was a soccer ball. My wife went to check my daughter out of the school. She'll be okay, I hope. But she has scratches on the side of her face, a black eye, and it's swollen. The school principal said that he'd handle it. Later on, he called my wife and I separately and asked to drop the charges because the student doesn't understand what they did was wrong. I told the principal that if the school isn't going to discipline the bully, then I'll call the police department and file charges. OP clarifies, no, I'm not racist. It's just that the principal and the school administration uses the fact that they're refugees and immigrants to excuse their behavior actions all too often. Okay, so if the 10-year-old doesn't understand they did something wrong, then doesn't that mean they require punishment? Because if you don't punish them, then how will they ever figure out that what they did is wrong? I'm on your side, OP. If someone did this to my daughter, I would go nuclear. I'm giving you 0 out of 5 buttholes. I'm giving the bully and the principal 3 out of 5 buttholes. Am I the butthole for telling my sister that her baby isn't a real baby? I'm a 26-year-old woman, and I got engaged to my fiancé on January 1st. I was very excited to share with my family, of course, and everyone congratulated me and my fiancé. I sent a picture of my ring to my family group chat as well as my Instagram, and everyone has been commenting on the fact that I got a very big diamond. My diamond is a lab-grown diamond that's just under 5 carats. I specifically asked for a lab diamond as I believe they're more ethical, as you never know if a mined diamond is a blood diamond. My sister, who's 21, was very excited for me, but as soon as I showed her my ring, her mood changed, and she was telling me that it's too flashy and it's not practical and that it's too trendy and not timeless. My ring is a pear-shaped solitaire ring with a marquee band, and I love it. My sister told me there was no way that my fiancé could afford my ring, which is true. If it was a mined diamond, it would be 10 times the price, and my fiancé is a second-year resident, and that I should test to see if it's a real diamond. I replied that since it's a lab diamond, it was a lot less expensive. She then proceeded to tell me how lab diamonds aren't real diamonds, and since they're made in a lab, it doesn't hold the same sentimental value. My sister's ring is a small 1-carat mined diamond, and it's beautiful. I never said anything bad about her ring, and it suits her. I tried to laugh it off and told her that I asked for a lab diamond, and that I don't want a mined diamond. When I said that, she started yelling at me that it wasn't even a real diamond in the first place, and that it was grown in a lab, not the ground. That's when I said, by her logic, my niece wasn't a real baby then because she was an IVF baby and grown in a lab too. My sister and her husband had a lot of issues conceiving, as my sister had some complications with endometriosis. Their IVF journey has been really tough, and they had multiple rounds and attempts, and 1 miscarriage, but they finally got lucky and I had my very healthy niece last year. I know my sister had a hard time conceiving. That was kind of the point that I was making. My niece started in a lab, but she has beautiful meaning behind her life too. When I made the comment that my niece wasn't a real baby because she was an IVF baby, my sister started crying over the phone. My husband then called me and berated me and told me that I was insensitive and couldn't understand the depths of her emotional turmoil, and that I shouldn't have started a fight over a ring. He even said that I was ableist, but I have endometriosis too. My mom says it's not a big deal, but I should let my sister cool off. I usually babysit my niece pretty often, but my sister hasn't been answering my calls for a week. My fiancé says, although I probably shouldn't have said that, I was justified. I didn't mean it, seriously. I know my niece is a real baby, and I adore her and spoil her all the time. Am I the butthole? To me, this reads like an everyone sucks here situation because, yeah, the sister was super obviously being jealous. But yo, OP, there's some things you can't say about another person's kid. This is your own flesh and blood niece, and I know that you're not saying that you think that the baby isn't a real baby. You're trying to use her logic against her, but still, that's a really harsh insult. So overall, I think I agree with what your fiancé said, which is you probably shouldn't have said that, but you were justified. So I'm giving you and your sister 1.5 out of 5 buttholes. Think about it this way, OP. How do you think your niece would feel if she were old enough to understand and she found out that her beloved aunt said that about her? Wouldn't she probably be hurt? Wouldn't that probably damage your relationship? So I think you went a little bit too far there. Am I the butthole for not paying my parents' mortgage after my sister moved in? For the past 8 years, I, a 32-year-old guy, have been paying my parents' property taxes and mortgage. They're retired and have very little retirement savings because they put all their money into the education of me and my sister, who's 29. We both went to top universities and found successful jobs afterwards. I felt like I owed my parents for all they sacrificed for me, so it was a no-brainer to help them retire with no financial stress. My parents did not consult my sister about splitting these costs with me. Instead, the agreement was that I would get a larger share of the house. Fast forward to now. My sister unfortunately lost her job last year and, as a result, doesn't have much savings. She moved in with my parents to save money while she looks for a job. I recently found out that my sister pitched staying permanently in my parents' house, and my parents agreed. I was furious at this because I'd been paying for the house with the understanding that it would be sold and I would get a larger share. it is very likely that my sister never sells the house and instead raises her eventual family there. Because the original agreement with my parents changed, I stopped paying for the mortgage, leaving it up to my sister to take care of if she's taking over the house. My parents are furious with me, saying I'm too money obsessed and should be continuing to help the family while my sister is in a tough spot still looking for a job. Instead, they're promising that eventually my sister will pay me out for my share of the house, plus whatever else I contributed over 8 years. I turned that offer down because there's no real guarantee this will happen, and I don't trust my sister to follow through financially. OP, 8 years is a long time to pay someone else's mortgage without a contract in place. So I think probably the healthiest thing to do is to just accept the fact that you'll probably never see that money back. Still, it's your money and you can decide what you do with it. I'm giving you 0 out of 5 buttholes. Am I the butthole for telling my best friend that if she wasn't always trying to get with my husband, then her boyfriend wouldn't have left her? I'm a 27-year-old woman, and I've been best friends with Kira, who's 27, since we were little. We were neighbors, went to the same school, college, etc. She was my maid of honor when I married Rowan, who's 28, who we went to the same college with. At first, Kira had a big crush on him, but he started liking me. We slowly got closer, and I started liking him too. This was after Kira had told me that she'd gotten over it and was dating another guy. But I still felt really guilty and didn't want to date him if it would hurt Kira. I asked her multiple times if she was okay with it, and she said that she was, so I thought that it was fine. Kira's been with her latest boyfriend, Adam, who's 27, for a year or so. However, over the last few months, she's been acting strange around Rowan. Whenever we'd be hanging out with the three of us, or even with Adam there, she'd always find some way to sit next to Rowan, laugh at everything he said, etc. I didn't think anything of it initially because I knew that's kind of her personality, and her and Rowan are friends. But then she started always asking me if Rowan was there before she came over, and if I said no, she'd often suddenly say she couldn't come. Though sometimes she would say that even if I said he was here. Rowan also told me about a comment she made to him once about how he was so patient for putting up with me being too tired to do anything with him now that I was pregnant, which I thought was weird. The odd behavior continued, but to be honest, the pregnancy has been keeping me too exhausted to give a lot more thought. And Rowan seemed as friendly with Kira as always. But 2 days ago, our mutual friend Shay threw a dinner party. Me and Rowan went, as did Kira and Adam. Kira got a bit tipsy, and she kept trying to sit with Rowan and touch him. He excused himself a few times, but she kept finding him. I tried to get her off a few times, and I was getting mad because this was a new line she was crossing. She was slurring about how I stole Rowan from me. Thankfully, Adam was too busy talking to Shay's husband to hear this, but he definitely saw Kira's actions. The next day, I was at Shay's again with some friends when Kira showed up. She was crying about how Adam had broken up with her that day, saying that he didn't think they were going to work out. Everyone was consoling her, but I was just kinda sitting there. I couldn't help but feel like she brought this upon herself. She asked me, "Aren't you going to say something?" So I said, "Maybe Adam wouldn't have left you if you weren't trying to get with Rowan all the time." Some of our friends were shocked to hear this and got mad at Kira. Some got angry with me, saying Kira was just really friendly with everyone and that was a horrible accusation to make. Kira was upset, saying she couldn't believe I thought that of her and maybe we really weren't that close. She left in tears and I left soon after too. Now, I don't know, maybe I was wrong? Kira had been drinking at the dinner party and might not have meant what she said, and the other stuff could have been nothing. Maybe this was too harsh to say to her after a breakup, and we could have talked privately, not in front of our friends. Am I the butthole? OP, why do you want this woman as your friend? Not only is she trying to sleep with your husband, but also it's not fair for your husband because clearly he's not into it. So it seems like he's tolerating this abuse to make you happy. OP, I'm giving you 0 out of 5 buttholes. What you said to her was completely justified. I'm giving Kira 2.5 out of 5 buttholes. Am I the butthole for not helping my sister who became homeless just after she gave birth to her and my soon-to-be ex-husband's baby? I'm a 24-year-old woman and my sister is 26. We were really close our whole lives, and we moved away from our parents together when she was 18 and I was 20. I met my soon-to-be ex-husband here, and we got married and my sister stayed close. We spent a lot of time together. Then, a few months ago, I learned my sister was pregnant and my husband was the father. I ended my marriage to him immediately, and I told my sister I wanted nothing more to do with her, and she was on her own. I had some of her stuff at my place, and I left it at my ex's place for her. For the rest of the pregnancy, they were living together, and then he wouldn't let her back in after the baby was born. She called our parents from the hospital and told them she had nowhere to go, that he was looking for custody and didn't want her back, and I wasn't answering her calls. So they called me, and after I heard them explain what was going on, I told them it wasn't my problem. They tried to argue, but I wasn't having any of it. She got a place at a shelter for single parents, and she's still there several weeks on. With the custody dispute, she can't move back to our parents, and I'm still refusing to help her out. My parents are angry because I won't even take her calls or reply to any messages she sent. I actually blocked her because I knew she wouldn't stop. My parents don't know that part. But they're telling me that I should be ashamed of myself for turning my back on her and the baby. I told my parents that I owe her and the baby nothing. I told them that it was just a shame she didn't choke on his dick when they were sleeping together behind my back. My parents called me disgusting for leaving them homeless, that I have room and could help. Am I the butthole? Hey, quick question to the parents in this story. If you really think that the sister needs help in this story, then why don't you do it? Why don't you do it? Right? If you want to help her, then help her. Don't harass other people into doing what you want them to do. Just do it. OP, I'm giving you 0 out of 5 buttholes. I'm giving your cheating sister 3.5 out of 5 buttholes. That was rSlash the Butthole. And if you like this content, check out my podcast where I publish the exact same episodes. Also, hit that subscribe button because I put out new Reddit videos every single day.